Welcome to Landriank on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and go after that awesome life. Start to experience the really heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth? Well, when we have expectations of a planet that has no problems, no pain, no challenges, well, then we're probably, going to set ourselves up for disappointment. You can live in that world because you're going to look at it differently. And the things that come to you on this planet, because planet Earth does have challenges, that's part of the human experience, they will no longer have the same effect on you. That's what heaven on earth is. That's when you're in bliss, even in the most dire of circumstances. You find the beauty in it. And I know sometimes that's very difficult. Some of you are saying, beauty and murder and all these other things. And no, there's no beauty in acts of violence or things like that. But you can find the triumph through those experiences and what can come from those, overcoming challenges. And that's what I mean when I say these things. Those challenges will always be there. And then there'll be a point when we don't need them anymore. So we won't experience those challenges because we've learned our lessons. But as long as we continue to come here and desire to elevate our frequency through those challenges, well, they'll exist. And we need to be there for each other, but allow each other to experience those challenges. Now, I want to talk today about dealing with criticism, negative criticism, and people that put themselves in a position to tell you what you should do or not do, or what you should or shouldn't think. Now, you know that this channel is a vehicle for you to use or not. It is a choice whether you watch this or not. And it's also meant to inspire you, meant to open up your way of thinking, possibly expand it. And it never is meant to dictate anything other than you have the ability to choose anything you want. And that hopefully you'll choose things that are positive and good and ultimately will bring prosperity and joy and abundance and peace for yourself and others. That's simply it. Everyone has choice to believe what they do, to act and think how they please, how they choose. So now, what happens when others criticize you? Let's say somebody tells you you're in woo-woo stuff, oh, that crazy, woo-woo. But the thing is that, some of you are so afraid to share that you're going into that space. And that's okay. Sometimes you don't need to tell people what you're thinking or believing. You just set yourself up, once again, for criticism. Now, if you want to set yourself up for being a target, sit in this seat. So I have a question for you, and that is, are you willing to put yourself in a position to receive maybe some negative criticism, or put yourself in a position where it might be uncomfortable in order to accomplish your goals that you truly believe in, that you have positive intentions, that you know is a positive path for you to take? Are you willing to do that? If you are, then you, congratulations, my friend, are overcoming the ego. Of course, people like Christ took on major criticism. I know that people like Eckhart Tolle and Esther Hicks, wow, they're putting themselves out there. And you can imagine the criticism they get. I know, they've talked about it before. There are always going to be people that want to oppose you. There are always going to be people, especially if you put yourself out there, that find an opportunity to do what I call armchair criticizing. Right? They're going to hold themselves as an authority of their own beliefs. And they are. But then what happens when they take those beliefs and they want to tell you that you're wrong? That is totally ego-driven. What if that's directed at you? Are you strong enough? And this is the challenge. Are you able to understand that anything that feels bad when that person criticizes you is your own ego, feeling like they have somehow hurt you? They can't. They can. In fact, I find it pretty entertaining. Pretty entertaining. One person in particular, actually, it's really interesting, but it's just so you guys know this. It's so rare that I get something like this. It's so rare. I mean, seriously, I can count like in a whole year, a couple people that will say something negative. I get a cat hair on my face. I don't know how YouTube does it. They must be using artificial intelligence, of course they are. Actually pick up on that stuff, and it goes into my spam folder. It never actually goes into my comments. So they're picking up on certain things, either the person who's commenting, probably getting some negative hits, so YouTube puts it over there for me, or certain things they say in the comments are negative, they go over. Well, the universe operates that way too. The universe is picking up on everything. Negative words, negative thoughts, anything that is really resonating on a lower frequency, which is, and when I say lower, I just mean it's a slow, denser frequency. It's the ego trying to be right. It needs to be right, and it wants to pick a fight. Are you strong enough? You want to get tested? Are you strong enough to stand up to that and not react to it? I know a lot of you write me about this. A lot of your challenges are coming from other people. A lot of you. A lot of you have challenges coming from what other people said in the past to you that you've carried forward. That also, it's the same thing. Are you strong enough to understand that that is an ego speaking based on its experiences, based on what it chose to believe and what it's hanging on to? That's all it is. When you take those words and you put meaning to them and you believe them, that's then your choice. And that is your ego. And when you expect that person to act differently, that's your ego too. Saying that you're right and that they should be thinking a different way and they should be doing whatever. All of it's choice. All of it's choice. When somebody can give their opinion, they're allowed. When somebody imposes that on you, tells you that you're wrong, you need to do this and that, then we've got an ego talking. And you need to recognize that if you're going to move past any pain that's going to be attached to whatever is said in that exchange. When you recognize what that is, it no longer has any power or meaning to you. It's just them spewing whatever their ego decides that day that makes them powerful. But it doesn't. It doesn't, and I'm sure it doesn't feel good to them. We all know that the ego ultimately doesn't feel good because it's always controlled by the outside world. It's always controlled by being liked or having things or being in a situation it desires. And when those situations aren't in place, the ego strikes out. The ego strikes out to be superior. It needs to feel good about itself. It's not feeling good about itself, so it will strike out. So if that ego, if somebody else's ego is striking out at you, it needs to feel superior because it's not feeling good about itself. That's it. Now, when you get somebody who tells you, like a parent or whatever, this is how things should be or whatever, that's just ego programming that they believe, they truly believe in. A lot of that they truly believe is good for you. So their intentions may be very good coming from an ego standpoint. But we don't need to judge it. Either way, we don't need to judge any of it. We don't need to sit and analyze it and say, okay, that statement's coming from a positive point from the ego. If it's not what you choose, bless that person and move on. You don't have to oppose it. That's then your ego gets kicked in. And here's the challenge. Are you allowing your ego to kick in and you go back and then you're like, but they said this and that, like, but you just got sucked into the same thing that they're doing. So this is a great exercise for you. If you have somebody that opposes you, so what's really interesting is when I get the one in a, like seriously, I think maybe one every 6 months I might get one comment. Especially people that are highly religious and very attached to what their religion says how things are, because they grew up that way, or they were told that, or they chose to believe that, and they're in that so deeply entrenched, and they feel that they need to go tell somebody else that's how it is, right? This channel is a choice. You can tune into it. I don't come into your home and spew anything. You choose to allow me in. And you can shut it off too. And that's the beauty of choice. Now when somebody's spewing stuff at you and you don't choose it, let's say a comment comes in. Of course I'm going to read all the comments. Well, sometimes I don't. Actually, sometimes I'll start out and if I see it's negative, I shut it down. It's not welcome on this channel. It serves no good purpose. I love opinions. And even if somebody questions, absolutely. But when somebody is spewing just plain negative stuff and it serves no good purpose at all. What's a good purpose? Is somebody just needs a soapbox to get on. A lot of them are just promoting their own channels. They want you to go over and listen to their negative stuff, and I'm just not going to get involved in that. And same thing goes for you. You have to decide when somebody's coming to, the sun just went under a cloud. When somebody's coming to you with things, you have to decide what's at the root of that. Bad intentions, ego, somebody, good intentions, and no matter what it is, recognize it and don't respond to it. Here's my question to you. Why do you need to respond to it? I know exactly why. Do you? Ego. Boy, it's really tough to sit there and say nothing. When somebody's like, especially like politics or religion, somebody's, and this and that, and I've got a friend, woo, can't go one night without, spewing out political garbage, and my response is always, those discussions are not welcome in this house. They don't serve a good purpose. Everyone in this house is allowed to believe and think what they want to, and we don't need to debate that. We came here to enjoy each other's company and to laugh and have fun, and that choice to go to that space leads to nothing positive. It creates, the blood pressure goes up and changes the energy in the room, right? You're in charge of your own energy. You're in charge of your own frequency. So I don't care if it's your parents, your grandparents, a teacher, somebody you live with. Your biggest challenge can be to control your own ego and break through it. And when that person spews whatever, and you actually find yourself smiling, you know you're in a good space, that your ego doesn't need that anymore. Your ego doesn't need to defend itself. It's not even in operation anymore. It's taking a back seat. That's a great exercise. Don't put yourself intentionally into those. Avoid confrontational people, situations, if you can. You don't need to test yourself. You're going to get enough tests throughout your whole life. But if it happens and you're constantly exposed to it, you have to make some decisions. If you're married to somebody who's constantly criticizing, controlling, You have to look at yourself and ask what part of you is choosing to be around that. And are there any other solutions? Maybe sitting them down and saying, you know what? I don't like the way you speak to me because it's very negative. It creates a negative atmosphere. It's not necessary. Let's find a solution to this without being the authority, without criticizing them. Allowing, I feel this way and I would like to resolve this. And if you don't feel we can, then you have to make your own decisions. Sometimes you just don't talk to your parents as often, or you limit how you do that if they're constantly spewing negative stuff. Same thing with friends. You got to ask yourself, if you've got a friend who's extremely negative, why are you hanging out with that? And what happens is when you transition into a higher frequency, you'll find you're going to lose a lot of friends. You just don't connect to them. I have some friends, I sit there, and they're just wonderful people. I don't really have much to say to them. I really don't connect to their world anymore. Not because they're bad people. They're actually awesome people. They're just consumed with the material world, and that's all they're, focused on. And the things that I'm interested in, I can't really discuss with them. And that's okay. They don't need to be interested in what I am interested in. I enjoy their company and that, but, So you have to make these decisions and ask yourself, if you're having a reaction, it is your ego, and I know a lot of you are. You're still reacting to other people's thoughts and feelings and how they treat you, including a boss. Then you have to make a decision. If you are not being treated well, instead of fighting back, have the discussion. Can't work under these circumstances anymore. You find yourself another job. Is that the worst thing that could happen? It might be pretty awesome. These situations not only are good tests for you, but they're also choices for you to decide whether or not you want to continually be around that. Don't be an enabler. You don't want to be a punching bag either. You sit there and take the abuse and you don't say anything. You have to make a choice. And when I say don't say anything, I mean remove yourself from the situation. I can remember Kim Eng, who is Eckhart Tolle's, life partner. I don't know. I don't think they're married, but his girlfriend. Whatever the title is, it doesn't matter. Got into a fight with him. They actually talked about this. This was years ago, about putting the recycling into these bins, and I guess he was not moving fast enough. He was just taking his time, and she was on him, and he wouldn't respond. And that got her even more angry because she wasn't getting the fight. She wasn't getting that reaction. And he still wouldn't respond. And he removed himself. And she ultimately said, looking back, is that her ego wanted a response. It wanted to be, validated. That what she was saying was valid. And, that he needed to, be moving faster. I don't know what it was. It was something like that. And he wouldn't engage in it. He didn't break up with her. But she made a change because of that. And she said she really had to take a good hard look at what she was doing. She was creating chaos. Now that's Kim Eng with an awakened person. That's probably not going to be the case with the rest of us walking around talking to each other. So you have to be the awakened person. What does that mean? You're already the high frequency, experiencing all of this on this planet. So you need to switch over to that. You need to park the ego over in the corner and say, what do I feel right now? Well, I want to shout back. I'm hurt by these things. No, you're not. Your ego is. Your ego is controlled by what others say. How can you be hurt Their words. What changed at that moment? Your belief about what somebody thinks or feels or says. And if you don't believe it, or you don't accept it, you know the whole, I always mess this stuff up. The whole little Buddhist saying, if I give you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to? Who's it belong to? Say it. Yeah, me, the one who gave it to you. You don't accept it, so I'm going to take it back. There you go. If you don't accept it, it's not yours. It exists out here in some energetic, and yes, energy is going to affect you at some point. That's why it's important for you to not continually expose yourself to that. Ask yourself, is this a situation I can change? Or is this just a temporary situation where I just have to take a look at myself and say, okay, I'm not going to react to that. Wow, this is a great test. And I've done it, man, all week. I've really been focusing on that. When anybody says anything or I have any thoughts, are they judgmental? I mean, it could be simple stuff. Like, oh, that person's doesn't take care of their lawn. They're a slob, right? That is not something I thought, but I'm just using that as an example. Maybe their back's out, and they weren't able to mow their lawn because they're, in bed in pain. You don't know what somebody's situation is, and it doesn't matter. And when somebody spews a gift out to you, you don't have to accept it. So start practicing this if you're dealing with this criticism or whatever it is you're getting from somebody else. Bless them. I guarantee you're going to see a major change when you don't react, when you don't fuel that negative fire. So, comment away. And if you don't like this channel, if you disagree with this channel and it's upsetting to your ego, there are a lot of really good channels out there. You need to find the one that resonates with you. Right? That's all. This is a gift. This is a gift. My gift to you. And so far, I'm hearing some very positive feedback that these thoughts and inspiration that I share with you is having some kind of a positive effect. And those are my intentions. And those things that you maybe can't wrap your head around, that's okay. If you're opening your mind up to possibilities, things that maybe you didn't consider before, it's all good. It's all good, right? Because in my world, in my reality, there are no limitations. All possibilities exist, and we get to choose those. Sending you light, love, health, wealth, prosperity, abundance, joy, and peace. You are whole, perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Send my friends joy and abundance. This is my gift to you. Do you accept it? I send that light and that love and that abundance and peace to you right now. We are connected. It doesn't stop when this video gets shut off. There is no such thing as actual time. So, if you accept that now, it's yours. Namaste.